Welcome to the Bayou City Soccer Podcast. Whether inside or outside the loop, we are talking everything soccer in Houston. Y'all ready? Let's get it. Houston, welcome to another episode of the Bayou City Soccer Podcast. My name is Rudy Segura. I am happy that you are joining us. Everybody get in here so we can talk a lot of Houston Dynamo, Houston Dynamo 2. We'll touch on a bunch of games coming up. We'll definitely break down this past game that wasn't all that. And if you think it's not me, I trust me, it is me. Who else wears the Bayou City Soccer hat and a bandage shirt from Bluey? So I did shave, and you probably are like, oh my God, is that Christian Putalias there talking with glasses? No, it's not me, right, Christian? But I am not alone tonight. It looked like Christian was not going to make an appearance, but he is here to talk some Dynamo. Christian Putalias, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
Doing good, man. Well, yeah, I guess we're doing good.
Hey, we're alive. We're breathing. I'm telling you, man, you can't do any worse, man. But
as good as we could be.
Jay Hurtado says, dang, babyface Rudy. Yes. My wife hates when I shave for some reason.
Young child.
And I tell her, I'm like, you made me shave for a wedding, and I hated shaving for my wedding. And here I am, at this point. But we are not alone. We are joined by what is becoming a known phase, a known commodity here in the Bayou City Soccer Podcast, joined by JP, Juan Pereira. How are you, brother?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Well, could be better under circumstances, I'd say.
Could be better, but you know what? That's what we hear. When negative, or actually not negative, but when the good, the bad, and the ugly, we have to, bring the news and our opinions, obviously, to the sport of Houston soccer, for the men's side at least. So we got Orange and Blueprints. Obviously, they're the one that covered the Houston Dash. They're on a break as of now. The Dash still have a couple weeks till they're back, but that's neither here or there. Again, hopefully you guys are doing well. Usually we spend some time, in the first 10 minutes kind of breaking the ice, trying to more or less kill some time as people are gathering. But this is basically a full capacity type of episode, a ton of games to talk about. Before we started recording, I told you guys, I'm like, hey, we don't have to sit there and watch the highlights of a really ugly match that happened over the weekend. So we'll play them, but we don't really have to sit there and cater to them. But shout out to you guys for doing a watch along for this game. How was that for you, Christian? I know it was the first one this season. Were you happy with the event itself in the sense of, having that many people kind of, come along and watch the game?
Yeah, it was exciting, honestly. As you guys know, or some of the people in the chat know, I used to do watch-alongs a long time ago for Dynamo games, and this is what, 3-4 years ago, a long time ago.
Wow!
And just going back into doing watch-alongs and watching soccer and interacting with people we almost did 3 hours. I think it was 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yep.
And we had a steady of people coming in and out. And then, we had the ye old faithful ones that were here literally the whole time. And, the whole interaction with them was amazing. Obviously we were all sharing in the same pain, and a bunch of stuff kind of came and went. We had different conversations and just a bunch of watch along. That's funny. And it was fun. It was fun. I think it's funny how more people joined us after the game than during the game. So at least
everybody wanted that live reaction to how bad the game was. Of course they did, right?
And I hope. I mean, we are not experts, but we do have different experiences. I mean, JP was talking about his experiences that he does outside of this, and all the things that he's been doing for other teams, and just kind of all these cool things and jobs that he does on the side. So it's cool to see a perspective of what professionals are doing on the side, actual professionals that do this for a living. So he got to experience that, and he was sharing that with us. And then you have people like me,
Give yourself some more credit, Chris.
Hey, I what's it called? Full transparency, I didn't get to watch the first half of the game live. I had to only catch the second half. By the time it was pretty bad. I didn't get to join and watch you guys the stream as well, but this morning I did, and it looked like you guys were having a lot of fun, man.
We had a
y'all were
time.
kicking beers, and
Oh, not
I
me.
think one of you
Just me.
y'all were.
We don't want to get fired.
Yeah. Once mom's probably watching this and is ready to.
Hi,
I'm
Mom.
saying that.
But no, yeah, it obviously looked like you guys were having fun, and I loved, like, again, you guys also being honest and be like, hey, we don't know every single player's name on the other side of the field, but hey, we're just gonna watch the game and kind of let people hang out and get those reactions, and it was great. I think 5 minutes in, you're like, hey, I guess we shut down the stream. They're losing 1-0. I did, yeah. So it looked like it was a lot of fun. Hopefully, we get to do more. I think we're planning to hopefully maybe do it on Wednesday for the U.S. Open Cup. I know it's here in Houston. For the people that are in Houston, like Maddie and Manny, they'll probably be there at the game, and of course others will be just watching it, and maybe we'll get the stream happening again. It's weird because it's such a early kickoff to an extent, right? I mean, it's a nice kickoff on a Wednesday night for sure, but at 7 on Wednesday, it's still like I got things to do on Wednesday night, so it makes it difficult to catch that game.
It's a work day.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But all right, guys,
in a blue collar city, it can be difficult at times.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. As you guys already know, we have slides. Hopefully, you guys enjoy them. By the way, Rushan, thanks again for joining us, man. Honestly, I love it when people like Rushan join us and just get their thoughts in here. And I still remember Rushan being so kind, giving my daughter some of those little Fox headbands, and she asked about them all the time, and I couldn't find them the other day. So I know they're here, so don't worry, we haven't lost them. They're somewhere in their room for sure. But all right, getting starting here, and yeah, Maddie says she'll be there. Of course, she never is not there at the stadium when the Houston Dynamo play at home. So we'll just put it out here. The scoreline 6-2. It was definitely an ugly scoreline. It was 3-0 at one point, and then the last 5 minutes or so of the match, 3 goals. We saw brutal night in Colorado. It's easy, guys, to call out this game as a terrible game, just seeing the purely the scoreline, right? I mean, you see a 6-0 game or 6-2 game, and it's one of those that you are just absolutely. Jay Hurtado says you're speaking over the audio. I don't know what audio.
There was a little mix up, but I think we're good.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And so, well, obviously the starting lineup was going to have a little bit of tweaks, as we know. Obviously, Jack McGlynn's health has been in question. I personally hope that he's not suffering from that same injury that he was dealt at the end of last season. I know we haven't had much news. Yes, sir.
He posted a story on his Instagram.
It looks like he should be good, right?
It seems like he's closer to being playing than not playing.
And of course, we know about the formation. We know about the 3-4-2, however you want to call it, with the wing backs and playing some guys that are necessarily not in a true position as a wing back, whether it be an Ali or Holmes, which for me, Holmes is more of a serviceable wing back out of both of them. I know that Anali is going to get more love, especially after scoring a goal, a really nice goal for sure. But defensively, man, he's been lacking for sure. But I'll play the highlights here in the background. And Juan, we'll get your thoughts on just the game overall, man, just your feelings. And we'll go a little bit deeper into, player, of course, as well.
Good deal. Hey, you want me to start? Because
man,
I got a little bit of stuff. I mean,
go for it.
Ever since the game, it's been a few days since the game, right? I've had time to kind of decipher it and look over it again. I do really feel like, although the XG numbers and the possession numbers were kind of even, I still feel like Houston were thoroughly dominated, at least tactically. I mean, you're going to look here. There's just a lot of errors, a lot of sloppiness all around from Houston. And there was a specific moment earlier in the first half that I vividly remember. The head coach for Colorado, like literally almost on the field, signaling to his fullbacks, like push up. Houston aren't covering those back spaces really well. I felt like Colorado were just simply a step above everywhere. And it was really disappointing if you're a Dynamo fan to just kind of see that lack of hustle that the team's trying to pride itself on this season.
Yeah, I agree with you, Christian. Anything you want to add, and we can keep expanding on it. Like I said,
no, I mean,
yeah, just overall.
Sealy on their side, it was on fire, and then I'm just trying to count all the times like Guillermo was able to get to it. I mean, Holmes had a couple too. One like this one, and then one of
he
the
had
posts.
one that hit the crossbar, I believe, right in front of goal. And that's the thing. Yeah, and I get it. You know, especially the chat is saying, skip the highlights. I know. I feel the same way. This one's a good opportunity for Colorado as well. But
that kid was on fire.
The newbie, the guy that scored a brace. Well, two guys scored a brace. 6 goals. Someone's gonna score a couple braces here. But Kosi Thompson, man, was playing really well, and basically all of their newbies. The guy that came from Colorado towards the end. That's a shot you're talking about here from Holmes. That should have been a goal. It was.
He wasn't able
to finish those. It was an awkward shot, but you gotta hit the goalie at least with that. There's another good shot from Bushot. He took a couple from outside of the box, and that's good to see because for a long time we never really see those. This one here was a really bad clearance from Chache, and Bond could definitely do more, and we'll talk a little bit about definitely him. We'll spend 5 minutes here talking about Bondi and Guillermo. Man, he's continued to to be different, be better. That's a fantastic shot from Anali.
That's a good partnership right there. Those two guys, I think, with time, it only get better.
Yeah, I agree. But then you have to think about what's going to happen defensively.
Georgie right here just burned fresh so bad.
Damn.
And yet another skip on that ball.
Do y'all think that Bond could have done anything better there on that?
On this one? No.
It did hit the defender.
It hit the defender right in front of him. I don't think he could have. This here, Andrade was having a terrible night, and he just put a cherry on top by getting an own goal. So you feel for that guy, and we'll talk a lot about him as well when we kind of break down some of the players. But yeah, that was
walked in.
That was a hell of a goal.
Yeah.
And again, it was getting out of hand. 5-1. This one, obviously, they were still showing replays, and I was like, who scored? I told you guys, I'm like, who the hell just scored? Because they put Nick. I think that's what they were focusing when you watch the game, they were focusing on Nick. I'm like, who the heck scored? And then really bad from Antonio Carlos, who had been really good, and he just had a really poor night as well. And then next door do it.
Wow, that was
good to see him hustling, and I feel like it was. I don't know. It's kind of soft.
That's
a little bit soft. It's from behind, but it's still kind of soft.
At least he didn't spit on the ref that time, to give him some credit.
And of course Navajo, I think that's how they pronounce his name, even though for us to be Navarro. He gets his brace as well.
Unlucky too.
And calls the game. So yeah, unfortunately for the Dynamo, I after the fact, and here I'll put the stats up here as well, and we can kind of, you see the stats, guys, and it's extremely close of a game, right? If somebody told you this was, they gave you the stats, and you're like, hey, Christian, what score? What was the score? What was the final score here?
Yeah, you would say
you would have gone with what Juan Pereira mentioned, right? A 0-0 draw or some kind of draw at this point. Yeah. But the amount of shots from the Dynamo, 20 shots, 8 on target, 5 chances. It's similar to what Colorado did, but Colorado was able to put those chances away, and obviously, ultimately, goals are what wins you games, man. And we know the attacking side of the Dynamo has been much better to start the season. Maybe not necessarily this game, because even again the first road loss in Dallas, you're losing, even though you scored 3 goals, which is rare for that to happen, right, guys?
Yeah.
Go ahead, JP. Let it out, bro.
No, all right, but let's go ahead. So usually we go move into like the standout and the letdown. I feel like this game was pure letdown, and we try to we try to what is the word? I guess separate ourselves from our emotions as a fan, and be as straightforward with the information that we have in front of us. But whether you're a fan or not, this was just purely an embarrassing loss. It was one of those that you get getting scored that many goals. It's no matter how well the stats look, it was just difficult to watch. And the biggest thing, so we'll start with some of the players, and we'll go ahead and start with Bondy. I think everybody loves Jonathan Bond. I think he's a fan favorite. Obviously, we've gotten the opportunity at Bayou City Soccer to get to know him through interviews and just out, and stuff like that. So as a person, fantastic, but he's struggling, man. Juan, he is struggling, and last year he wasn't. His numbers were pretty awful. He was one of the worst goalkeepers stats-wise last year, and it's continuing, man. I think that you point out that goal, right, of ricochets, and there was a few like that for sure in this game. They're kind of last-minute deflections, and we know we've seen him do really good acrobatic saves. I know, Christian, you're a big fan. Again, seeing him work, but then you start kind of you have to kind of nitpick some of those, saves or close to being saves, and start questioning, could he do more? One.
Yeah. I remember Dynastat sent something to us where it was like Bond is pretty good at saving those high XG shots. Hence, like those saves that really make you say, wow, like this guy's doing pretty good. And then I think there's just some weird shots he lets in. Some shots where I wouldn't always say, oh, you got to save that. But they just keep making me think, should he have saved that? And that I think that's the majority of the goals he gives up, where I am unsure if he should have not been able to save that. So, I mean, I don't think he's as bad as the numbers say, because he's saving some really high XG shots. You do that through skill and through ability. But I don't know. I feel like he's been a little bit underwhelming. And I definitely do think, and I do think about it a little bit, would making a change at goalkeeper be the right move for Houston? Because they don't lack prospects when looking at Blake and Pedro Cruz. And also Jamie's there, I think, for the vibes.
Yeah, Maddie on here said the noodle arm one seems like
that one did seem like a rookie mistake. But I'll be honest, I've played goalie. Those look tougher than we give them credit to.
Yeah, and you can see he's doing well by the reaction, right? Because he is getting that ball shifting to a different side that he was already, expecting to go. Yeah. But you would think that, we've seen it in the past. And I think as, covering the Houston Dynamo and being a fan, we've always seen very good goalkeeping in the Houston side, right? So, you can go down the list and there's so many very, good shot stoppers in Dynamo history. And, if you had a player that for take it for what it was very questioned, as goalkeeper, was Steve Clark. And Steve Clark made those saves, those very last minute shifts on a ball, or it gets deflected. He would find a way to push it away from goal. And sometimes you feel that that's not necessarily something that Bond is capable of. And there's times that his save ends up landing right in front of an open player, and obviously makes it look even worse, because could he have done more? And it goes even to the first goal, right? It was a very dangerous cross. He kind of stutters into whether coming out or not. Of course, there is a defender and a player in front of him. Nothing happens, and there's a wide open guy at the end of the day. So it goes to a lot, Christian. But Christian, when it comes to Bond itself, man, I think we've seen a lot. The example size, obviously, he was basically the starter the entire last season. this year, with 6 games under his belt, what are you thinking with as Juan mentioned, there's other guys behind him that possibly, and we'll talk about Wednesday, but we may see, a Jimmy Maurer get a start there, or even a Blake Gillingham get a start there. But, what's happening here? Or he just, Ben Olsen just loves Jonathan Bond too much to move away and maybe, not sit him to try to, get, I don't know, the fire in his belly going again?
I don't know. Like JP said, I think the numbers don't tell the whole story. I feel like he's not the greatest goalkeeper out there, but he's not the worst out there. He obviously, by the numbers, he's one of the worst. But like I said, I don't think the numbers help him in the sense that he's been playing with like center backs that change every single game. I was just looking at the shots out of, I think it was 16 shots, 12 shots for Colorado came from inside the box. I mean, a couple of those goals, we can blame one of those goals maybe on him, the noodle arm, as we're calling it today. But then the other shots, there were 2 deflections. One of them was 2 were crosses right in front of him, which a goalkeeper, it's like 50-50. Do I go out? Do I stay in? Do I cover my first post? Do I let my center backs cover, the middle of the goal? What about the second post? And just like things like that I think could be attributed to the defense just being horrible and him not being lucky enough.
Okay.
I don't think is him as a goalkeeper not being good, because we see and he has shown that he can be a shot stopper, and this whole I don't want it to be a diss, but this whole thing saying of like, oh, look at he's stopping all these low XG things, and there's like certain shots that he wasn't able to stop, and from outside the box they're supposed to be like low XG, that if you look at the way that they played out, he was either covered or like there was people in front of him, so it's kind of hard to see for a goalkeeper. I just try to get it in myself in the shoes of a goalkeeper and know the decisions they have to make, like second by second. Like, is somebody gonna put a cross in, or they're gonna take a shot? And I think we don't give them enough credit. The numbers are obviously going to tell you otherwise, but then the numbers also told you that the Dynamo could have beaten Colorado in a way.
Yeah,
they played a really good game.
And that's exactly it, right?
So
this game could have gone either way.
We have to be fair when looking at numbers and saying, oh, this wasn't a bad game, it was just bad luck. But then look at the same numbers and be like, oh, Bond is trash. Yeah. So we have to be consistent in the way that we look at numbers, that we see numbers. And if we can look at numbers from a 6-2 match and say, oh, it wasn't that bad of a game for the Dynamo, and you lost 6-2, and then look at the XG that he could have stopped, and like that last goal that he stops a one-on-one with the forward, and then Hector, he does a foul, or makes a foul and the goal. So what else is he supposed to do? Then he almost blocked the penalty. Went under him. Could you blame him? Maybe, but then again, like, the dude is destroying, like, he's taking a shot point blank at him, and he has to do the best he can to get in front of the ball, but obviously he's already jumping so it's hard. It's hard.
Mentions that Tim Hanley is not the goalkeeping coach. I don't know if that necessarily matters, because he wasn't that Bond struggled as well last year, so it doesn't matter. But just to add, to Christian's point, it's not just this specific game, Christian. I think because there hasn't been a clean sheet yet, and there is some other easier
but you
goals
can't just blame it on
the season.
Yeah, I agree with that. There hasn't been a clean sheet, but I think clean sheets it's a collective thing. It's not just a goalkeeper thing, because the goalkeeper can bust his butt to do everything that he can, but if his defenders don't defend, what a
segue! Let's go there. Let's go into the. Originally, I was thinking let's just talk about Felipe Andrade and how he struggled, but in reality, all 3 of those center backs really struggled, and I think. Felipe Andrade with the own goal is going to be the worst, looked at in ratings and stats and whatever. And he was put in really bad situations. I think that Antonio Carlos just was not in the game. He was just kind of all over the place. Sometimes you will see him play sort of too far back and then sometimes too far forward. And it was just a really bad. I don't know what it was, but the chemistry just wasn't there with those three guys, and we'll stick with there. I was gonna add another guy up there, but with those three guys, Juan. I mean, what was your perspective? On those center backs.
I mean, when I'm looking at this like from a tactical perspective, that's how I like to process things, and just kind of how the shape looks. I feel like Eric and Carlos looked really good last season because of the out of possession shape, which I talked earlier with some people. I thought the out of possession shape last year was not the problem with the Houston Dynamo. I think it was the lack of ideas offensively.
Yes.
So then I guess what happens? They switch from this kind of positional play system to some more relationism, which I can get on board with. But the end result is that same in possession shape of like a 3-2-2-3-ish kind of, and this completely different out of possession and transition shape that I just straight up don't like it. I really don't. Because the idea of a 5-back is that you can close off the half spaces, right? Your 2 wing backs do drop into the defensive line. And then maybe your wingers can drop in and help too. That's not really happening. The wing backs are kind of staying a little higher, and it's up to the center backs to kind of take up that white space, which would usually be fine if those center backs were a little faster.
I'm telling you, you guys are right. Everybody obviously, had a really bad game overall, and then obviously that affects other guys. So the guy that I was going to bring in was Lawrence Anali. Perfect example there. I think, he stayed up way too high at times. I mean, honestly, I know Colorado scored 6 goals, but if they would have put 8 or 9, it wouldn't be shocking, because many times it was Andrade just by himself, with a guy in front of him and a guy behind him, just because Lawrence just wasn't even close to, securing that area. And we understand, one of the wing backs, it's going to be more attacking. We understand that. But as you mentioned, that full-on shift of going 3 in the back and having those guys higher, when you could go back into what we've seen Ben Olsen carry, Christian, that 4-3-3, that the shifts, right? That goes from when they're attacking, it's a 3 center backs. When they're defending, it goes back to 4. So it's a little bit more, there's a little bit more elasticity there in the formation. And that's just not the case, Christian. And it's just, why do you think it's Ben is starting to be married to this formation, and there's not really any tweaking happening, man?
I think it's just because of the players that he has. I mean, I've been saying this since the beginning. This is the only formation that allows you to play your quote unquote best 5 guys and have them on the field. This also is the best formation, and have you played with the 3 center backs that you have, that all 3 could start, Antonio, Halter, and Shevchenko. Like, you have 3 good, capable center backs. They're not. Halter is probably the best one, in my opinion, just because of his youth, his speed, his body. Eric and Antonio, they're kind of on the older side, which gives you, Super Juan Bros. That's hilarious. Which gives you, just for context, Rudy, Juan's roommate is also named Juan, and he actually made a quick appearance on the broadcast.
Great, so, there you go.
That's where it goes. But you have, those 2 guys could give you that, that experience from playing in bigger leagues or playing in bigger tournaments. I mean, Eric played in Champions League, for God's sake. So it's one of those things that it can get. If you want experience on anywhere on the field, it would be your center backs.
Yeah.
But then also when you leave them kind of like with a men down, there's times that Colorado was attacking with 5-6 guys, and the only 3 defending were them, or even Chache coming back to kind of help them out.
Yeah.
But you're just understaffed and slow at the same time in the game.
I'm not gonna completely disagree with the statements that you're having, but I will say though, it's not necessarily understaffed, because I feel that as much as I don't like the guy, and I know Juan loves him, you have Anali there. You have other players that can take over those win back roles.
You mean Aliu?
Ali, what did I say? Anali,
Anali.
For Anali, that's So whether it be using Aliu in one of those positions because you know that the guy can track back. We know he can't really score goals. I mean, that's a proven.
When I say understaffed, I just meant like it was a 5v3 situation.
Yeah,
not that there's no players to put in, because maybe at this point I'm kind of turning around on the Aliu situation, and I'm like,
yeah, but see the Aliu situation is way and Aliu that at this point that's kind of, but yeah. So I mean, Aliu at the end of the day, it's a guy that can play that role better. I feel that, again, Lawrence, at the end of the day, you're going to have people, and I've seen it, right? We're in the circle following what, the Dynamo fans are putting out there on social media, and you hear like, oh, well, the only people that played well was, Enali and Guillermo. And you really start breaking it down, and I'm like, yeah, Enali scored a fantastic goal, but did you see like how many goals that Colorado had because of his lack of positioning? I mean, you have to kind of see the entire game. But my point is, if you go back to playing that 4-3-3 game, like formation, you have to me, you have the pieces to do what needs to be done here. In the past, it lacked because of the injuries to center backs, but right now you have healthy players when it comes to Eric and Antonio, and Andrade playing on the left and kind of shifting that role in a way that Dorsey left. But
I mean, can I hop in here for a second?
Yeah, real quick, man.
Yeah, so I wouldn't really say it's like a 4-3-3. I'd say it's more like a 4-4-2, right?
Yeah,
and I think and that honestly just works better with those center backs, like you said, because they're a little older, but they're covered by two fullbacks right next to them. Yes. I feel like right now in this system you have Andrade who can cover one of them, but then
he likes to attack. We know
he
this.
Does. Yeah,
he's a guy that can that he can go up and down the field, of course, and defend.
Yeah, and I think you're asking too much right now from Andrade. Yeah, you simply are, and I feel like that's only going to make him worse. But then whenever Andrade tries to push up and maybe create something, you're left to two center backs at times.
Yep.
And that's just a really yucky situation that I feel like would be fixed by maybe keeping those ideas of in possession relationism with the consistent out of possession shape that I thought did really well for you these past two seasons. You changed what was broken, right? But you also really changed what wasn't broken.
Yeah, you broke what was
what didn't need to be fixed. Yeah. And in return, you created something new, which could maybe work still well in the future. But even right now, it isn't creating a lot of XG.
Yeah.
At least by a league-wide metric.
So that's a good segue. I know that obviously Bosad and Chache also are different. I feel like they don't really
they don't do well together.
Yeah, they don't do well together. They need somebody that can hold the ball, and it makes you think obviously how important a player like Jack McGlynn has become to the team. I mean, he has become what Hector Herrera used to be, and Hector Herrera honestly is not the same guy anymore. He definitely seems like he's struggled in confidence, and even though he came in, for a good chunk of the game, he wasn't the same guy on the ball. He looks
I think it's just because he's older, right?
Yes.
And he hasn't have like as many reps.
You would still play him over Chache or Bosad.
So I think a good question would be for Ben would be like, what are the chances that you play Hector the first 60 instead of the last 30?
Yeah,
I think he can give you more probably in the first 60 than the last 30.
Yeah,
because the dude is a game changer. He's the type of player that imposes his own pace to the game itself.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you have a guy that it has the enough experience and to like dictate the game, not only for his own team but for the actual game itself, like that is a strength. Which what we saw in that possession based team by Ben Olsen a couple of years back. It was all circled. Everything was because of Hector Herrera, and Hector Herrera dictated everything. He dictated where the passes went. He dictated where the balls went. He went back into the, to the center backs and everything like that. And he directed the team. He was the director of the orchestra. And now you don't have anybody that can do that. You have very talented players. You have Guillermo, which is the guy that you like.
Especially with the injury to Jack. It's so noticeable when Jack gets injured because, like you said, playing Bosad and Chache is not the same thing. And then playing, it's not the same, but it is better with Jack, I would say. Like he's doing his part. Now, Dago, we'll move out of the defense because I really want to touch on the attacking side of things. But obviously, Bynes is there and Negri's there. And those are, again, guys there are used to playing fullback positions or even center back positions. And why are they not being utilized? I mean, Bynes maybe makes a little bit more sense. Why? I mean, obviously, he hasn't played in quite a while and he kind of fell off. But still, you do have players that you can use and rotate. Now, moving into the fantastic attacking side, as you mentioned, right? They spend so much money in getting players like Guillermo, getting players like Bogusz, as you're starting to call the friendly Polish ghost here. But no, it's the guy. When it comes to those two guys, I mean, we already know. You look at even go to FootMob right now, look at the best rated players in MLS, and you'll have the Brazilian who today was his birthday. So happy birthday, Guillermo, if you're listening. I know he's not. He doesn't understand us, but shout out to him. Happy birthday to him. He has been putting up, big time numbers. He's been scoring goals. He's been getting assists. He, as you mentioned, Christian, right now with missing a player that can grab that ball and, be the guy that carries the team, Guillermo is really doing a lot. And Juan, you mentioned Andrade being asked to do a lot. I think Guillermo is being asked to do a lot. And one thing that we've noticed the last couple games, the guy's been on the ground more times than not. And that's worrisome too, as much as he's bringing a lot of, when it comes to the attack. Now, imagine if for some reason he takes a nice, nasty knock and you don't have him. Then what is really the Dynamo going to do, if that makes sense? So we know Bogusz has been also kind of hit or miss. He does take a few shots, but it's not the same. The confidence is not as high as Guillermo. And then Ezequiel Ponce has just completely been non-existent. I think this game specifically, and I don't know, you guys, again, watched it together, but I don't know how you guys noticed the frustration that all three of the guys had, because I noticed it. And I don't know how much you guys went into that, if you guys noticed it, but I mean, it was like Bogusz had the ball, he'll take a shot, and then Guillermo and Ponce were rolling their eyes and just, throwing tantrums. And then Guillermo would take a shot, and it was Ponce and Bogusz throwing tantrums. And it was just, there's something there. They're just not clicking. I think they're trying to do too much. They're trying to be the guy that scores, but then they become little islands as well. I know I spoke a lot, but, let you guys kind of simmer that in and give your thoughts, guys.
Do you want to go first, Chris?
No, you can go ahead. I was laughing. I'm sure we saw that comment that it was really funny.
But oh my,
absolutely, yeah. We'll read it for the people on the podcast listening tomorrow. But fun fact: everybody here in this podcast and viewers has the same amount of goals as Ponce. Thank you
for listening.
Maybe one day you can be worth $9 million and an MLS DP spot,
dude.
Never say never.
Imagine. But anyway, guys, anything you guys want to add, feel free.
I was so frustrated with Ponce while watching the game. I know Chris can attest to this. It was yucky. And I mean, coming into the game, even I was saying stuff like, I get why Ben starts him, what stuff he can offer, whatever, but he hasn't scored. And in a game where you generated 2.67 whatever XG shots or shots on XG, and okay, Chris, let's not do the 6-7. But I mean, but whenever you do something like that and your striker isn't getting on the board, I don't care how those two goals came about. There's a serious dysfunction there. And it's been that way since the start of the season. And it's been kind of disappointing because I felt like last season Ponce was starting to get hot near that end. I was starting to see some signs, some life out of him. And then I feel like that was thrown completely out the window.
Yeah, and one thing that we noticed, Juan, and I don't know if this, makes you add more to it, but I mean, he was scoring like a goal every 3 games, which is not terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it wasn't bad, but now, I mean, even the out of possession and the in possession stuff, the dragging, I'm not seeing it again. And it really sucks because I feel like with these principles in possession that are changing a bit, your striker really hasn't. And if anything, he hasn't dragged the players away from the deep areas to create space for a guy like Bogusz or Guillermo, because I think simply teams aren't afraid of him. because they know he probably won't shoot it that well. Just give him a little bit more space. It's fine. And they'll stay in their little block, and then it's not even that they're in their block for that long, because Houston's no longer a possession team, which is a whole other conversation. But it's disappointing how Ponce hasn't added to this new dynamic that has so much potential.
Yeah. I agree. And obviously, Christian, fellow Argentinian, it has to be frustrating to see the number 10 struggle as much as he's been struggling. But, as Juan mentions, I just feel like this season in particular, I know that he had a knock and, it kind of threw him off a little bit. But at the end of the day, like, he just seems behind. He just seems slow as they get closer to goal. We know that he's very good with the back towards, away from the goal or towards the goal. Whatever the saying that goes, but he does it really good with holding up the ball. He does the connections. Last game, we saw him, turn around and dribble, something that Pat Olsen was like, we hope he doesn't do that, because we know that's not his strength. But I mean, at this point, as much as you want to continue to give a DP10 time, has it been too much time at this point? It's a time for somebody else to go in, Christian.
I think it is time. You give him enough. You give him enough time. I don't know how much time can you give a guy. I mean, at least just be like, hey, we're going to play in 45 minutes. If you can't produce anything in 45 minutes, then we're going to throw in Markanic. Markanic or Markanich? Markanic. Okay, so funny enough, Markanic also helped somebody build a 2007 Honda Civic.
I saw that. I listened. That was Dago, I think.
Yeah. But no, yeah. Go being a little bit serious. But yeah, like if you look at actually his stats, I was just kind of peeking through them year by year, and he only had 1 year where he was like on fire. And then the other ones, I mean, I think his third best year was the one with the Dynamo. He scored 13 goals. Then after that, it was 15. Shout out to my boy. And we call each other primo. He's not my primo, but we're homies. But it was like 20-something, 15, and then 13 from the Dynamo. Now I'm like on the camp of like, okay, he can do defensive work, but also I need you to score goals.
No, you have to, especially when you get paying that much. And then
that was like the cherry on top when our friend Dynastats, he also had a list. I don't know if it was him or whoever, but I think it was him that made that list of how much everybody was getting paid, and he's getting paid twice as much as a second person, person in that list.
Yes.
So he's getting paid like $2 million a year.
Matty has a point. He wasn't signed to be a defender.
Exactly.
That's true.
So I'm starting to turn on him slowly.
You know what? If we gave Ibrahim Aliyu so much grief, in his first stint of not 100%. Being able to score, and he wasn't a DP, he was just a young kid out of the Croatian league.
Young child.
I think you expect much, much more from a number 10 DP that they spent $8 million, and I think he was a record signing at the time. Obviously, Bogusz kind of just beat him by a couple million. And then to add, just I don't know if you guys saw this, and you guys can add furthermore, but did you guys see that viral clip of former Houston Dynamo Sebastián Ferreira take a penalty, gets saved, and then the defender kicks it right to his face and it goes in? I do wonder myself if Ponce would score that or not. If it hit him in the face, would it still go in or not? At this point, he's just bad luck. Juan,
I saw that going, and it reminded me of him, and maybe the Ben Olsen truthers, if there's any out there, they'll probably get mad at me for this, but I think Ferreira left and was treated worse for far less in terms of what he gave to the team. That might be a hot take. Maybe this is a conversation that we can have in depth. But, I mean, Ferreira was never really given a big shot under Ben Olsen. Yeah. And whenever I'm looking at Ponce's current run of form, I feel like Ferreira was kicked out for a little less.
Because I think one thing that Ferreira could do was score goals. He wasn't going to be your Corey Baird of just, the press and high press. And obviously Ponce, we know the work rate. But, yeah, guys, at this point, who is at fault, right? Is it going to be Ponce for not scoring, or is it going to be Ben for being happy that he's doing everything else great except for scoring those goals? But we're 45 minutes in. I hope this is not a 2-hour episode by any means, but let's go ahead and, I mean, put that aside. Obviously, that already kind of generates a lot of talk and chatter when it comes to the players, but there is a midweek game, so let's touch on it just a tad here.
Do we talk about Bogish or no?
We did talk about Bogish a little bit, but you can go into this in a sense. Let me. So obviously, U.S. Open Cup Wednesday. We do have a giveaway out there for the Bayou City Soccer fans. If you're interested in making it out to this games, again, 7 p.m. Central Time. I don't know where they're going to be playing this game. Not thinking about it. So YouTube. Somebody
probably Paramount. Paramount, I think, has CBS, which has the US Open Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
I should check beforehand, but if for some reason you can't make it to the game, that is the case. Edgar, thank you, Edgar, with the shout out saying
watch along. Welcome to.
Welcome to join. So obviously this game, I mean, it's one of those. I think that I named this episode bounce back or bust. It really has to be a bounce back week, and not just this game. Obviously this game starts it off, but you do have again another game on Saturday, and I mean El Paso, guys, is hot. I mean I don't think there's a hotter team in USL Championship like the Locomotive are. It's kind of scary when you see how good they are. Obviously they haven't lost a game yet, and they've pummeled some of the big guys in the championship. That includes New Mexico, that includes Sacramento. They've just are too good. And again, it's kind of scary, but I love the US Open Cup. I'm a big fan of it. I love the elimination matches. I love Cinderella stories. Just never when they go against your hometown team, of course. But we've seen Ben Olsen in the past play better starting 11s to start this, U.S. Open Cups. So we talk about rotation. We talk about letting opportunities kind of happen. But, Juan, I'll start with you, man. What are you thinking? What changes do you, foresee being made again in this matchup, man?
I will give Houston's team building this year. I'll give them some credit because I do feel like for the first time in a bit, I think there's a few players you can bring in to rotate that won't completely drop the level off. I remember Gregus, I think was his name, came in during that game against Detroit, and just you could tell that levels were dropping depending on who you brought in. I feel like this year you have a fair few options. I mean, in the midfield you can go young with. Unfortunately, I think Arana's injured, or is he doing all right?
Oh, I think he was out. He was out with
the national team. Yeah. I was about to say you could put him, but there's also, Hector Herrera, you can put him in to start because he hasn't been starting recently. I'm okay with Buzat being in that midfield, but in defense, you can put in Resch, who I think hasn't done that poorly. And against, and if you're already playing MLS minutes, I don't think playing against a USL team is really that far of a stretch, especially starting. And offensively, I do think you have a lot of room for flexibility because you have someone like Vines or Aliu or Negri who can hop in defense or in that wing back role. So who knows? Maybe you want to employ Anali the same time as Vines and Guillerme. I don't know. You can figure some stuff out. You can make it work.
Yeah.
Attacking, you could put Markanich over Ponce. And on the right, I don't know if Miglin's going to be ready. You could put him. You can do some false right winger action like you did before. You have a lot of versatility up front, and I will give the team credit. I feel like they could do a lot of combinations here, and the level won't be that far off of what the first team is doing right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because, it's one of those, you want your striker to get hot. You want to start Ponce. Obviously, again, in the past, he's played, US Open Cup. Or do you want to just go ahead and let, Nick Marcanic some opportunity and maybe he gets hot, right? Maybe I joke with you guys, I think, in our Discord, our community Discord about, put Nick and see if he scores a hat trick midweek, at this point, and kind of start that conversation going of between him and Ponce, who you're going to play. Yeah, it's definitely, begs to the question to be asked on, we know how important the U.S. Open Cup is for Ben Olsen. I mean, he's won it a few times, and obviously for the Dynamo as well. I think it's determined that they find success for the most part in the early stages, but a cup upset, man, it's not out of the question here.
Yeah,
Christian,
that would infuriate people.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, Christian, we'll stay positive here, but I do have a question towards the end of this and the next game. But Christian, just your thoughts. See, knowing how good this El Paso team is, and it's a three losing,
Nope.
3 straight losses for the Houston Dynamo. If I could get it out. How are you feeling going into this match? Do you think the Dynamo can pull it off, man?
Honestly, no. So you said go positive, but
no. That's fine. Honestly, I'm with you. I think that I could see them losing this. I could definitely see them losing this. And you know what? I was gonna say they lost this weekend. They lose Wednesday. They lose Saturday, and we haven't even gotten there yet. But what are we doing with Ben Olsen, man? Is that seed getting hot? It's I know that there's always the team is still gelling together. It's early in the season. One of my biggest pet peeves is hearing any coach talk about it's early in the season. We've seen this so many times, and then somehow you end up getting, or making it just outside that playoff position by 3 points. You're like, hey, man, in February, in March, in April, you were telling me it's too early, but those points matter, guys. Those points matter.
Yeah. If it was too early, then why play those games? You know what I mean? Like every single game counts. So there's no such thing as too early or too late. Like you gotta go out, you gotta win every single game. Every single game, like, is the end of the world. Like I don't know what and like what competitive person's body like the phrase, oh, it's too early. Like me personally, I don't get it. Me being a competitor and I want to win at everything, like stupid story, but I was running the other day and I saw a dude in front of me and I was like, I'm gonna try to beat him. I didn't chase, like I chased him, I couldn't catch him, but I tried to beat him. Bro. You know what I mean? And that's just, I feel like that's the mentality you have to have. It doesn't matter who's in front of you, like LAFC or freaking, I don't know, Sporting Kansas City, Miami, like anybody, like even Colorado. Like there's one of those teams that, yeah, they're kind of hot right now, but it's like you have to beat everybody. If you really want to prove that you're the best team, you're just gonna have to go and beat everybody at home or away. I know the Dynamo probably lack some talent, maybe. Like that's something we were talking about. I mean, we're over here talking about how Bond probably is not the best goalkeeper in the league. Is probably one of the worst ones. So it's one of those things that kind of brings the whole like. So that there's so many conversations here, in the sense of like, okay, where's like the state of like just the roster, but then also where's the like what is the coach doing with this team? Because if you have a coach that is playing this weird ass formation, in my opinion, that and I'm not saying like it's a weird ass formation because I just don't like it. The point is that he's playing this formation, but he's playing the wrong guys in these places where they're not gonna fit, or that they don't play that. Like, so it's like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a crazy like I don't put the OOP or ball transition play and all these, like I don't use those fancy terms, but it's like I just know when guys are not playing well in a position because they just don't look comfortable. Even when they talk to you, like Anali says it out loud, like he says it, I'm not playing where I want to be played.
Yeah.
Like Holmes, you can tell by his body like language. You can tell Andrade is not comfortable. You can tell Shevchenko's not comfortable playing in this back three weird ass shape where he doesn't know if he wants to go and defend a first post or he should stay back and defend them. Like,
so I think the biggest question here is, you're going against, I mean, it's still a very good team, but could you experiment going back to the formation you were playing in the past?
And that's the thing. Ben said he's not married to it, but he's not changing anything. Like, even when he's losing 6-2, is like, even when you're down 2-0, maybe shift a little bit. I don't know. Why are you so married to a thing? And yeah, people are gonna say, yeah, look at it, the XG they created so much, but yeah, you lost 6-2. So at the end of the day, like I don't care if you play, uh, up there with them.
Yeah.
If you're not putting away chances,
Yeah.
bench Ponce. I don't give a shit if you're giving him $2 million. Bring in Marquez that you give him $75K to, and if he's gonna score goals, I'll give him 5 cents I'll give him $5 too. Like we'll make it 75-5. And that's just how it's gonna be. Like you got to play the best available player, not just.
And to me, it's also about just
on.
bench. When a player is struggling, you bench them, and it changes their mentality. We know this. We saw it in the past, obviously. So, we'll stay with the. Obviously, we feel a little bit negative going into this match. I mean, just because of the matchup. Yeah, of course.
You're in a three losing streak, and you're going against one of the best teams in the USL. And I know people are going to say like, "Oh, it's the USL," but how many times have you seen in the Copa del Rey like a third division team beating a first division game? It's not about where they play, it's about how hot they are in the minute. And that's why a lot of people use the same argument about the playoffs. They're like, oh, it doesn't matter right now. It only matters after, a certain date. It's like, well, yeah, why? Because they're hot. Same thing with the World Cup. The World Cup, you take guys that are high. You don't take guys that maybe you take some guys that have experience, but those dudes are going to pick guys that are hot in the moment, not just a name because of the name. But, whatever. I just think we have to be consistent. And like when we say different things about like, this team, this team, that formation, this formation, that, it's like, if you're going to say something, you just got to be consistent with it across the board, because if you say something doesn't matter now, it matters later, then you can't say that they play in the USL. No, they're hot right now. They're beating everybody's ass right now. And they have players that have played in the MLS. I mean, their top goal scorer right now is Rubio Ruin. I don't know if he's going to play because he just had a kid, but knowing a competitor, he's going to be out there and he's going to try to prove something playing against an MLS team. So even going in with a second team, I think the Dynamo are going into a dangerous spot.
Yeah, they have Houston Dynamo legend Beto Avila is in that game. I mean, there's people wanting revenge, man.
I just think they're going to go over. I as much as you want to rotate in these games, I think they're going to be overconfident. And if he does rotate, he's going to get his ass kicked. And I'm talking about Ben.
Yeah, we'll see that for sure. It's fine. So we'll see what the result looks like. Obviously, on Wednesday.
And I hope I'm wrong.
I think we all do, because we want to cover the U.S. Open Cup and we want it for it to keep going, of course, in Houston. So moving on to the weekend match, this is going to be a fun one, because from the dare we say, the Dorsey Derby. I think I mentioned this last time we recorded. April 18, at Orlando City, 6:30 p.m. Central Time kickoff. Interenco Stadium. I guess, and I just realized this is week 7, guys. So man, there's always a little thing that I forget here. But Griffin Dorsey and Orlando are not doing really good, guys. They've really struggled. You talk about the Dynamo losing 6-2. They've lost, and I had it in front of me. You can see it here. Obviously, they're also playing a midweek game, so that's to note as well against FC Naples. It should be a interesting match. Obviously, it's to note that Orlando's going to be favored in that matchup in comparison to. I mean, I don't know at this point. Even the Dynamo may be the underdogs going into their Wednesday matchup, but. As far as Orlando, they started the season losing 2-1 against New York Red Bulls. They lost 4-2 to Inter Miami. They lost 5-0 against New York City FC. The only team that they beat was a Montreal team, 2-1. They just fired their coach. And then, as you can see in that graphic, they lost 5-0 against Nashville. They lost 6-0 against LAFC. I mean, they've taken a big time tumbles. I think they're on a predicted to probably score the most goals in league history at this rate. I think they've already conceded 24 goals in 7 games, so it's pretty incredible. And their last game, they tied 1-1 against Columbus. there has to be a little bit of an asterisk there because Columbus ended up losing their starting striker to a torn ACL like very early in that match one. So I think you take that out of context, or with a grain of salt because that shifted Columbus mentality altogether, losing their starter there. But here is the starting lineup for that match. Obviously, you start reading some of these players' names like Atuesta, was the goalkeeper Crepeau, then obviously Griffin Dorsey, and it's some of these guys 5 years ago were really good, and now it's just a team that's not clicking. Orlando has been in front page news because Anton Griezmann is on his way to Orlando. Will he be the savior at this point? I don't know, but Juan, what have you seen from Orlando? I know I mentioned a little bit of the fixture that they've gone into, but yeah.
I mean, they have Dorsey for one hand that I think is still decent, even if the stats behind maybe his recent play haven't been outstanding. Goalkeeping is fine. Crepeau is decent, but when, like you said, like I look at the rest of the roster, there's not a player there that really gives me the fear, like someone that, well, to their credit, they're going to bring Griezmann. So I feel like that'll help out a lot, but they won't have him this week. I feel like definitely their coaching staff is on a bit of a hot seat just because of how bad they've been defensively and how putrid they've been.
And that's a good point because obviously they got rid of Oscar Pereira a couple weeks ago as well. So yeah, there's a lot of weirdness to Orlando.
Yes.
So it can definitely be like a trap game at this point.
Yeah, no, they have what I would call like some wabi sabi, right? Like they're not. I don't think they'll be playoff contenders this year, but I mean, with a guy like Dorsey, with Crepeau being like, maybe I think his best days are behind him, can still deliver a performance. They could get you a feisty 1-0 win, 0-0 draw whenever you're really looking for a win. I feel like that could be a really frustrating game for the Dynamo, but also an excellent opportunity to get back on track. I mean, this week, like the title of this podcast, it could not come at a better time. A struggling a struggling Orlando team and a USL team. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Christian, we'll get to you, and of course you tend to hit us with an orange divination. I didn't ask you to do one for the US Open Cup because it's kind of, again, win or lose type of thing, but for this, I know for a while we've been dragging the Ponce is gonna score, Ponce is gonna score, Ponce is gonna score. At this point, man, what kind of divination could we even have? That this is feasible because you talked about it earlier. You want to be positive, but you have like no reason because nothing seems to be clicking.
I think we're gonna see more than 5 goals in that game. Which way, I have no idea, but I think we'll see 5 goals.
Yeah, I could see that. There you go.
You're scaring me, man.
It's going to be, I mean, look at just the numbers, right? Like, the Dynamo don't defend well. So
will Dorsey, this is a question for the Bayou Banter. Will Dorsey score against the Houston Dynamo?
A good one.
100%. 100%. And he's
going to celebrate it.
Yeah, he's going to hit the comma celebration, which
he should go to not to the bench because Pat is not there. But if Pat is anywhere there, he should go and just.
Oh no! If Ted Siegel's around, I'm pretty sure Dorsey's gonna let out a big scream towards his direction.
He has to do one of these.
Oh yeah, he's gonna hit the Messi, man. Oh goodness,
he's gonna hit him.
I'm over here struggling to write against, but there he goes. Against.
Against is hard.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. But guys, we have been super positive. I wouldn't call us negative. I think that we're not. I told you guys I had a lot to say about just in general what kind of what's happening. We will finish off with Dynamo 2 before we get there, and I know we who doesn't love a Houston Dynamo 2 story here, but Christian.
Yep.
An hour in, you want to tell the people how they can connect with us?
Of course. As always, guys, BayouCitySoccer.net is a website. Don't forget to check us out over there. We have everything and anything Houston related here, Houston soccer related on that website. So make sure you check us out over there. You can find us on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, X, and Blue Sky. You can check us out there. Get the Fernet. Yeah, I honestly, yes, I need to go buy a bottle. It's gonna be painful. But check us out over there. Those are the 4 spaces that you can see us. As always, you can check out our YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. And we are pushing for the 600 mark, if I'm not mistaken. So it took us a long time to get to 500. We are only 6 away from 600. So
we're rolling.
Please, if you haven't yet, subscribe to that. We're so close to get into the 600. It's going to change our world. And of course, just if you're listening to this the next day or whenever you're listening, just make sure you let us know how we're doing. Leave us a review or something of that kind. Always something good. 5-star review. And like always, BayouCitySoccer.net. And if you want to talk about our friends.
What friend? Oh, Unisport. Yes, of course, man. Unisport. Definitely go out there and check out their store. They have pretty much everything you need. I mean, we've been there a couple times. And then obviously you can use the Bayou City 10 to get a discount on your purchase. One thing that I wanted to mention, and man, you threw me off because now my brain is all here. But one thing that we didn't mention, and we really don't have to talk about, but Basi was obviously here as well, and so he got to hang out with the supporters groups.
Drama
for Basi fandom club. You guys have listened to this podcast enough to know our feelings on that, but. I mean, is it a guy that the Dynamo could possibly bring? I mean, they reunited Aliu, and who knows at this point? Maybe bring Teenager Davey back as well at this point.
I think Brad Smith's available too. If you
Brad Smith, bring Steve Clark out of retirement. Kind of bring that 2023 team back together. I mean, who knows at this point? But yeah, Maddie says positive of the week. I'm still leading the Golden Boot. Yeah, she's killing us with the Golden Boot. Absolutely, she's doing a really good job. But all right, guys, the Dynamo 2 will finish with that. They are still undefeated. They beat Austin FC 2 in a penalty kick shootout. I was very dude. There was 2 minute game and 2 minutes left in regulation time, and they stopped it because of weather. And they didn't come back to it till about an hour or so after that.
10:30.
Yeah, and of course Austin FC scores and ties the match, takes it to penalties. But Pedro Cruz, as somebody in the chat mentioned earlier, Pedro Cruz 2 big saves, giving the Houston Dynamo 2 once more 2 more points. They have not lost. Sadly for them, they did concede in this match, so that breaks the clean sheets here. But their next match will be Sunday, 4:30 p.m. Central Time against Real Monarchs, and you can catch that on MLSNextPro.com. Juan, we know that you are taking over as the Tuesday guy. Tuesday that talks about the article that talks about anything happening with Dynamo 2, but. Did you get to watch this game through? I mean, did you finish it? I called it quits Wednesday. I was like, man, it's the delay still happening. So I told Manny, I'm out, bro.
Yeah, no, I am a bit of a sicko for Dose. I've been loving Dose since I've started watching them, man. I think this game in particular, I think was the toughest test for Dose so far. Because and these past 2 games, they've kind of been this case study of how this team looks without some of those fringe first team guys really there. I mean, Weisner, I think he's injured right now, so he didn't feature. Markanic wasn't available. Pedro Cruz in there again. It was the young guys again, and Diego Gonzalez. So I was really interested to see how they would manage a team that was a little bit older. And I'll be honest, they struggled. Houston Dynamo struggled. Their box midfield shape was good at times. They had some space, but they had some half chances compared to Austin's, I'd say, really quality chances. And Pedro Cruz, for me, had, I think, most likely his best game in the Dynamo shirt ever. I mean, some of the saves this guy was pulling off, and just the space he commands inside the box. He looks like a man amongst boys in a lot of ways, and he's still young for a goalkeeper. So he really excited me today. But Houston really struggled, and I thought that first goal for Houston came a little bit against the run of play. And they were so close to writing out a crazy win.
It took me 2 seconds to upload it. Rushan was asking for highlights. I don't have the entire highlights, but I do have the goal here. So
yeah, nice. I mean, just a mess up from Austin right here.
Over the top. Bro,
Headed backward. Here's a chance. And an opening
This has been
goal
really great.
against the run
He's
of
been really
play
good for Dynamo too so far. Not just in his scoring, but positionally, he adds a lot of value because he can rotate between those half spaces really well. His movement is really slick.
Commentator was super excited.
Yeah, he's been he could possibly be the best striker, coming from abroad for Houston Dynamo too, man. Because I feel like everybody else that's come in has struggled, and Jaden mentioned it, dude. Gilberto Rivera has been really good. I think it's a guy, and Juan, I think you were the one to mention about one of your scouting friends kind of talking about how good Gilberto was from San Jose and how he was highly regarded coming into the draft. And I've watched Dynamo too. Like we mentioned it in the past of players like Brooklyn Reigns kind of being in there, Sebastian Rodriguez, which by the way, Sebastian Rodriguez made the bench with Monterrey. I'm not sure if he got to play or not. I don't think he debuted, but he did make the bench. But he hasn't been missed with Dynamo 2, and Gilberto obviously has already been called up a couple times to the first team, whether it be just to fill in the bench, since the Dynamo has been featuring two goalkeepers in there as well, to Christian Putelia's liking. I saw you guys talking about that on the stream, but I think it's a team that is doing very well under Jeremy Hurdle, and you're just hoping that some of these guys make that step to the first team soon enough. But let's go back to the player that did it, Arana. Yes, Chris, you're leaving.
No, I have two questions.
Yeah.
For Juan. Juan, first question is, do they play the same formation shape that the first team does?
Oh, I love how you're bringing this up. I can geek about this all day if I could.
Go for it.
But I mentioned this a little earlier. It's a yes and no kind of way. I will say that the system that Ben Olsen started with in 2023 and 2024 a bit has trickled down to the second division or third division, really, MLS Next Plus third division, and possibly the academy level, because I'm seeing these young guys really understanding that 3-box-3 shape that even the first team employs in possession nowadays. So that in a way is yes, but I will say the out of possession shape is just miles better for Houston Dynamo too, and in comparison to their competition. It's tight. It moves really well. Something that a lot of coaches say is, how well can a group move as a unit out of possession? How much is it not just one guy pressing, but let's say if your striker's pressing, does the winger kind of cover a shadow, cover the people behind? They're doing that at really high efficiency. So I'd say yes and no. The in-possession ideals are pretty similar to the first team, but out of possession, I feel like they're leaning more into what made Houston good before. So I guess that's how.
I just think that also it goes back to finishing their opportunities, because I think they create as much as the first team does, and then I know that the streak is not there, but when you look at the numbers of the amount of opportunities being built, and we know that that's something that Ben Olsen and Pat Onstad and Asher Mendelson, they harper about, getting those opportunities created, but they're not putting it away. Yeah. And Dynamo 2 is. So I think that's definitely important to note, because I think Juan, with this goal, it's still 13 different goal scorers. I think basically everybody and their mama has scored with Dynamo 2.
Yeah. Houston have found goals in all different type of ways. Rivera has shown an ability to kind of tuck into the half spaces in the final third and get some shots off at a really good rate. Di Morelli's Di Morelli. He's kind of I'd say Barcelona Dembele. He can stay wide and kind of cook them on those chances. And you're even seeing the fullbacks and midfielders getting involved in a lot of ways. So it's a dynamic attack, right? And it's fitting because it's the Dynamo. And I think that's something that you really want to see from your young guys, showing some versatility.
Richard has a good point. Not a lot of guys are actually playing out of position.
Actually, I would argue that it's a lot of Hurdle kind of rotating people to put them in their best possible place, because if I look at the game, let's say someone, for example, Gardner, who started at right back for Houston, he was pushing up a lot. If you look at the heat map, he was honestly more like a winger online with Di Morelli, but it's because his play style fitted it. I'd say this is more of a coach not looking at specific positions, but looking at the space on the field and being in this part of the field, who can occupy the space the best, who goes behind him, who goes out wide. The base shape will be the base shape, whatever. I feel like Hurdle's just putting his players in the best points on the map, I'd say, rather than like a specific position that really holds them down. So you see a lot of rotation, relationism, which are all really beautiful stuff for fans to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a good episode. I think there's been a lot of information. Obviously, you know, this is the men's side of Houston sports, Houston soccer here. What, dude, Jeff? Did Jeff just get here basically?
No, he's been here.
Okay, good.
That's a funny one.
Yeah. I love that you coach. We need to do that again. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah. So of course, I mean, going into this week, Dynamo and Dynamo 2, no Houston Dash, as we mentioned earlier. However, I just shout out to, you know, obviously the other videos that get posted on our, you know, YouTube and podcast feeds. You do get Orange Talks. We've had the opportunity to talk to Houston Dash players and coaches as well. And hopefully we get a few more, if not this week, next week. We are planning to chat with Eric Sviatchenko before the match on Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. And you know, if you're part of the Bayou City Discord community, you know, feel free to maybe throw a question that we haven't thought of yet, and we'll see if we get it to the player. But this has been a really good show, Christian. I hope that you were able to let everything that it was in your mind. I know that this hasn't been the best of weeks in that sense, and probably the best month to start off, I guess. But anything you have, I know that we tend to leave it in good spirits, and I have nothing myself that I can add. Yeah. But if you have anything, I know that you've been reading that book. Did you finish that book, or what?
I'm 60% of the way in.
There you go, man.
So I'm getting there, guys, slowly but surely. But today I came across a good quote. Also, shout out to everybody that was on the watch party. We really had fun. Bad news, I won't be able to be there on Wednesday. I'm gonna try to get in there as late as I can, but Juan will be there with special guests as well. So make sure you tune in. You guys are going to have fun. For all you nerds, soccer nerds, you guys are going to get all the nerd that you can get.
And
because with me.
We'll be back. You're talking about Wednesday, but we'll be back Monday night, and we already have a guest scheduled in as well. So we'll have plenty to talk about with that many matches to kind of cover. And hopefully, you know, the U.S. Open Cup is still kind of happening next week and so forth. But hey, are we gonna have Bossy? Oh, that'd be a good one. You know,
imagine
the T.
Right. I mean,
inside scoop.
We get shooter shot at this point, right? If he's
he ain't doing none.
If he's a free agent,
he's not
why not?
Anything.
Yeah, that's a good point, man.
Yeah. Also, I'll be at the Dash game. What is it, like 2 weeks from now? I'm gonna be there, so I'm taking the whole crew. So we'll be there. So whoever's over there, make sure we say hello, and we'll catch you over there. But like Rudy said, I've been reading this book about Phil Knight. It's like his memoir. If you guys don't know who Phil Knight is, he's the guy that basically came up with Nike, however y'all want to say it. And then there's a point in the story where he basically he's about to get sued, but then he gave his speech, and then he talks to Bowerman, who is like his mentor and his coach, and then the guy tells him this: the cowards never started, the weak died along the way. That just leaves us. So basically, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but just, you know, go ahead and start something, do it, just keep going at it. You know, cowards never start. So if you just start, that means you're not a coward. And then, you know, the ones that are weak die along the way. So just keep pushing it. Try to get to your finish line and make it shorter, and then, you know, expand it and expand it and expand it. And then that's the way that you can for sure say that you got somewhere. So, you know, I know Rudy was talking with Juan before. So that's a great, if you want to say it, you can say it, but that's a great thing that you're going to do. And hopefully that, you know, just letting you know you're not a coward and you're not weak, because you're going to start something, and I know you're going to finish it because that's who you are as a person. And that's just us, the people that start something and try to finish it we're always going to be there fighting. So make sure you keep that attitude, guys.
And be
I like
consistent.
that.
Just show up, even on the
Yeah,
worst days.
just
Show
show
up.
up.
Just show up.
Show
Sometimes you don't want to do it. Show up.
Show up.
You don't want to be there. Show up, man. Yeah, that's important for sure. All right, guys, man, it's been a really good show. Obviously, you guys know where to find us on our social medias. I would definitely hope that, you know, if you're listening to this the next day on the podcast, please go out there, give wherever you listen to on Apple or Spotify, you know, give us 5 stars if possible. Yeah, we'll take a 1 star, but at least tell us why, you know, just tell us why.
Just do 5. Don't do 1.
No, but I'm
Don't
saying
put them in their
if
heads.
you know what I mean. It's like whenever you go to Google, and we talked about this in the past, but it's like you put a 1 star, like at least give me a reason why. But anyways, guys, yeah, appreciate the support. Of course, we'll stay in touch. You can find everything on BayouCitySoccer.net.
Yes.
We'll see you next week.
See you Wednesday.
Watch
it live Wednesday, and then
see you Wednesday.
We'll see you about Saturday.
And if it goes well, maybe we'll see you Monday at this point. You know,
There you go.
if it's 2 more losses, I don't know if we'll be showing up here, guys. I don't know if we'll be showing up here, but yeah, exactly. Jeff knows. Tell me why.
I mean,
we'll get copyrighted for that.
If we play the song, possibly yes.
All I'm saying is that we'll be here. We don't know if Ben will be here, but we'll be here.
Ooh,
Shots fired. Hey, the scene has to get hot somewhere, you know? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
He probably won't hear this, but Ben, you're on the clock.
No, right. And with that, we'll catch you on the flippity flip at this point. Bye, guys.
See you
Peace.
guys.